What's happening, people? What you need in the building? And as usual, I'm just doing a little jog back and forth around the living room into the study room and then back into the living room. Okay, so I'm just going to be exercising while I'm doing this video. As you can see from the topic of the video, we're looking at uh, three fights. Okay, and these three fights, in my opinion, have a lot in common with each other because they show you something that you need to understand when it comes to boxing in terms of range and in terms of styles. So yesterday, Jose Zepeda, he stopped Ivan Baranchyk. And that was a fight that in some ways was unnecessarily difficult for Zepeda particularly. Jose Zepeda could have done a better job defensively than he was doing. But I must say that I thought that the fight went the way it should have gone. With respect to the other fight that I'm going to speak about, that actually happened, Charlo versus Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko has something of a style, something like Lomachenko. They're both Chenkos because they come from the same country. And Derevyanchenko made some comments recently with respect to Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko, which is very interesting. And when you clash those comments with Roy Jones Jr.'s comments very recently, they just don't agree. But we'll get to all of that. Derevyanchenko, though, has a similar sort of kind of style, the circling of your opponent, the moving around, working your way around your opponent's style that Lomachenko has. So that's what makes it very interesting. Zepeda also did more or less the same thing to Baranchyk, and he was able to do that for a certain reason. So this is why I want to actually do this live feed very quickly with you guys concerning those three styles. And I want to talk to you, three fights, sorry, and how they are very similar to one another, and how certain fighters, like, for example, how Jamal Charlo dealt with that versus how Ivan Baranchyk did with it, and how Ivan Baranchyk was still able to get success because of certain things that Zepeda did not do. So, we're going to talk about Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez in that respect. We're going to also talk about it in terms of what Roy Jones Jr. had to say about Teofimo Lopez. So let's start with that. Roy Jones Jr., he said that that Lomachenko, a lot of people saying, oh, he's getting old. And they're using that as an excuse because he's getting touched up a lot more, that he's getting old. And Roy dismissed those claims because he said if a fighter's getting old or is on the decline, then their performance would decline. Meaning that Lomachenko would be touched up with the same kinds of shots or same similar shots throughout the fight, which didn't happen in the case of Jorge Linares. And and also he was saying, certain things that the trademark moves that they used to do, they either slow down with those trademark moves, or they won't be able to, operate and do some of the things that they used to do, and that's how you know that they're getting old. And I say I agree with him to some degree with that. So then, the interviewer, which was Marcus Villas, shout out to Marcus Villas, Fight Hub TV. Marcus Villas said that, he's getting touched up a lot more. He got touched up with Luke Campbell. got touched up with Jose Pedraza. To which he said, well, they're bigger guys. Duh, bigger guys. So he's in there with bigger guys. He's gonna get touched up more than he would normally get touched up. So that was Roy's take on it. And this is what I gotta say about that. Vasily Lomachenko, when he comes in on fight night, he weighs over 140 pounds. Okay, he weighs like 142, 145 probably. I think I saw somewhere where he weighed 145 pounds. Okay, in short, he comes in a small welterweight, right? A small welterweight, and a lightweight. That's about the weight that lightweights come in back in the day, like Pacquiao and Marquez used to come in like 140 something, right? 148, 145. Now, Lomachenko claims that's his peak weight. That is to say, he can't go up in weight and fight super lightweights. I don't really agree with that, but it is what it is. I mean, we think, everybody likes to compare Lomachenko to Floyd or Pacquiao, but, Pacquiao went up to his peak weight, which was 154. He couldn't even make 154. He couldn't even make 150 to start with. And for a guy 165 pounds plus, Antonio Margarito. Yeah, he was a slow guy and wasn't a world champion, all of that. But the point is, he fought a guy much bigger than him, okay? Came in fight night, I think 148. Antonio Margarito was like 165. I weighed him like, was it 17 pounds right there? Okay? So, Pacquiao did that. Mayweather, repeatedly did this on a repeated basis, not only at super welterweight, but also at welterweight. Neither Pacquiao nor Mayweather could make the super welterweight limit. Neither of them ever came in at the super welterweight limit. So when Lomachenko tells us that, I'm talking about on fight night, okay? When Lomachenko tells us, that's his peak weight, and even when what's his name? When Roy Jones Jr. tries to use that as an excuse, oh, well, he really is a super featherweight, and his peak weight, that's his peak weight. Listen, you can't really claim that's your peak weight if you're weighing more than the weight limit. It's your peak weight, but you're making 135 easy. It's your peak weight, but you're a small welterweight when you get into that ring. So what do you really mean? What do you really mean by that? And I just want to cover one more topic here, because we're going all over the place, and say that's an inbuilt excuse. Just like it's an inbuilt excuse that he's getting old. They use that. They use it for Gennady Golovkin. They're not saying he's stepping up in competition, okay? He's stepping up in competition. When Gennady Golovkin faced Kell Brook was a welterweight, all right? And that's the equivalent of Lomachenko facing Guillermo Rigondeaux, who is a blown-up bantamweight. Guillermo Rigondeaux right now is fighting at bantamweight, not super bantamweight. He's fighting at bantamweight. Hold on, let me see. He could be fighting a super bantamweight. No, I think he's fighting at bantamweight. He's fighting in the same weight class right now as Naoya Inoue. Okay? So if you go and you beat a blown-up bantamweight, right? The bantamweight jumps up 2 weight classes to fight you at featherweight, right? And you beat him. That's the equivalent of Gennady Golovkin beating Kell Brook. Okay? Right? It's a smaller guy. So where is your top-tier competition? Nicholas Walters was a full-fledged featherweight, right? Jorge Linares was a full-fledged lightweight, But Nicholas Walters couldn't put a finger on Lomachenko. So I give him props. I mean, Nicholas Walters was a recent champion. He defended against Nolito Donaire and those kinds of guys. But I want to know where Nicholas Walters is now. But that was a good win. But still, Jorge Linares was a world champion. He was the number 1 guy in his division when Lomachenko beat him, right? But Linares hit him. He landed some punches because He was much more experienced than Nicholas Walters, right? All the other guys that Lomachenko beat, Miarga and Sosa, them guys, Miarga, we heard about him because of Nicholas Walters. We never heard about this dude before that. And with Sosa can't box. I'm sorry. Sosa can't box. Everybody beats Sosa now. But Sosa got that win over Gamboa, I think it was. I think he got a win over Gamboa after Gamboa dropped his ass or something like that. And so that's what makes Sosa Sosa. But be honest with you, they say he tough competition, but he can't box. Belichick, he came back down to 130. He came back down to super featherweight, and Belichick destroyed him, right? And Belichick is not the greatest boxer in the world. He's improving. You know what I mean? I'm saying this to say, as the competition will stiffen, is the more Lomachenko is going to get hit. Why? Because the guys he faced know how to face southpaws and deal with southpaws and understand the laws governing southpaws, he's going to have less and less of an advantage. And he's going to have to make sure he's tough enough, and he's going to have to take punishment. Okay? Jose Pedraza was dismissed in 7 rounds against Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, he gave Tank a little bit of problems, but Tank solved him and got him out of there. It took Lomachenko an entire fight to beat Pedraza. And Pedraza was the champion, right? And he couldn't get him out of there. And the reason he couldn't, even though Pedraza, he does sometimes unnecessary feinting, so you can actually read him. But it took Lomachenko the entire fucking fight to read this dude and start putting the heat on him. Okay? You know why? There's several different reasons. But one of the reasons is Pedraza is used to dealing with southpaws. And you just have to be a very good southpaw. And like Tank really is. I just wish Tank would be more committed to boxing. But once you are a very excellent southpaw and you got that lightning quick positioning, you beat a guy like Pedraza. Right? That's just showing. I'm just showing you guys there's levels to the sport of boxing. Y'all hype up Lomachenko a lot, and no disrespect, the man has done something nobody else in boxing has done except for Carissa Shields. Carissa Shields surpasses him in terms of accomplishments, not necessarily in terms of competition, but in terms of accomplishments. And what I mean by that is, in her respective field of women's boxing, she's done something that nobody else in women's boxing has done. She's unified 3 divisions, and she's become undisputed in 1. She's more qualified in her area than Terrence Crawford is in his area in 10 fights. She faced 6 world champions. 6 world champions already in 10 fights. Sorry, 7 world champions, my bad. 7 world champions in 10 fights. Lomachenko has 8 world champions in 15 fights. You see, Carissa Shields is a beast. Y'all start breaking down the numbers, and it looks ridiculous with Carissa Shields already. But, of course, it's women's boxing, you know. There are less women in there, so the top dogs, the world champions, the top dogs, doesn't mean that they're not good. It's just that they still are not going through. You could become a world champion within a couple fights because there's not a whole lot of people in your division, right? It's deeper in boxing. The divisions are deeper, so the talent pool is greater. The skill pool, the talent pool, the pool to pull from. Okay, so there's that. But I'm just saying, in her respective women's boxing area, she dwarfs everybody. When she says she's the GOAT, she could say she's the GOAT right now. Okay, no other woman in boxing has done what she's done at all, amateurs or pro. So she is the GOAT, no doubt about it. All right. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So what we got to see now is longevity with Carissa Shields and quality of competition. But she doesn't really. She might become literally the GOAT. She might become the GOAT in terms of accomplishments, both male and female in boxing. But of course, we still have to factor in, as I said before, that women's boxing has a lower a pool of fighters. So that's the only thing going against her right now. But shit. And she fighting in multiple divisions. So she dominated multiple divisions already. And I'm not saying that skill wise she matches the men skill wise. I'm not saying that. Like I said before, the pool is much smaller. So, I'm not saying that. I will say though, she would hang with some of them men. She would hang with some of the men. I don't think in her actual division, like 168 to 154, she hangs with nobody. Like them 154 pounders, like respectively the weight, but like a three weight classes deep, sure. She can handle like a certain welterweights, certain junior welterweights at the top, um, certain lightweights for sure. She could compete with those guys. She gotta have a size advantage though, because and then the skill level is just it's kind of there's still a gap there. Okay, she's not facing the kind of competition that in men's boxing they had, but that's not to be disregarded though. She can hold her own. She got pop, she got power, she got strength, she's got size. Okay, so don't get it twisted. I wouldn't put her in there with a Charlo. You know what I'm saying? Not that 160 or 168. It's just totally different. I mean, you're talking about guys much bigger than her too, like 6 foot Charlos with 75-inch reach. She gonna none of that stuff is working for her. She might have some speed, but I mean, them guys catch her, she's going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And those are big guys, and they're just as quick. But she really definitely impresses me. Back to what I'm saying though. So with uh, respect to Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, what I was saying is, a lot of people are saying, it's that he's getting old or that the guys are too big for him. Derevyanchenko disagrees with that because he says he spars 160 pounders, middleweights. So my thing is this. I think that Lomachenko is, I don't think he's too old. I don't think that if there's a size a factor, it's always going to be a factor at the top tier level. It's always going to be a factor at the top tier level. But I don't think that those guys are too big for him because come fight night, if those guys are 150, 152 maybe on fight night, and he's like 145, 142, I mean, it's only 10 pounds heavier. It's a lot, but it's still 10 pounds heavier. You know what I'm saying? And for the weight class. So I don't really think that the size is going to be a factor for sure because the skill level, the level that Lomachenko is reaching now is a different level of fighter. Okay. Luke Campbell sparred him and stuff. Luke Campbell knew Lomachenko and he really messed up his face and hurt him pretty bad in their fight. Linares just got hit him with a flash knockdown, but he caught him nice with the right hand, right? Luke Campbell literally fought him. All right. But Campbell, he's gritty, but he's not. Luke Campbell can hang with the best of them. Like I don't think Jorge Linares is like this new crop, this elite crop of boxers. Let me put it that way. I think if Ryan Garcia would have faced Jorge Linares, Ryan Garcia would beat Jorge Linares. I think when Ryan Garcia faces Luke Campbell, you guys are going to see there's just levels to this sport. And Luke Campbell, he's a good, hardworking boxer and all that, but all that gold medalist and things sounds good, but that was amateurs. He got pedigree at least behind him, but he don't have that. There's certain things he just doesn't have. He just wasn't God gifted. He was a hardworking guy. He built his skill set, dogged, persistent, and hopefully he gets rewarded one day with a world championship. But he gets dusted by Josh Taylor. If he jumps up to super lightweight, Josh Taylor, Reggie Prograis, these guys run him over. Jose Ramirez will give him problems. You know what I'm saying? He's not. He's a good fighter. Like Jorge Linares is a good fighter. He was an elite good fighter. But when we talk about this new breed that's coming up, the Tank Davises, the Devin Haney's, the Ryan Garcias, the Teofimo Lopez's. These boys on a different level. They've been commanding the sport for a very long time in the amateurs, and then they commanding the sport now in the pros. and they're showing that they're just so vastly. The reason why Teofimo Lopez was able to plow through his competition because there wasn't competition. Even the tall Japanese guy, I forgot what his name is, Nakatani. Nakatani was catching Teofimo Lopez every now and then with the right hands and stuff over the top. But Teofimo Lopez was tagging his ass up all night long. He was able to take that punishment and still, Teofimo Lopez, that is, and still go 12 rounds with Nakatani. But it wasn't that Nakatani was like dominating Teofimo Lopez, something like, no, he was giving him a good fight. He had fight in him. Lopez almost knocked him out a couple times, right? So what I'm trying to explain to people is it's a different breed of fighter right now. This is a different age of fighting. Like the age of Jorge Linares and, Luke Campbell and okay fighters. You know what I mean? Okay fighters. That Lomachenko was like destroying. That age is over. Now they're in a whole new era. Look what Tank did to, and no, you cannot sell this short. Look what Tank did to Jose Pedraza. Okay? Jose Zepeda. Jose Zepeda beat Jose Pedraza. And not that Jose Pedraza was lost in this game. Zepeda's a very good boxer. Very good boxer. Is he elite? No. He's not elite, but like, the elite guys out there now. He's not a Josh Taylor. He's not a Reggie Sprogray. But he gives him some trouble. He gives him some work. He's like all them guys are like, they're like let me explain what I mean. They're good, but they're not elite. They are, they like, Zepeda's like he's like that Dominican Republic kid. I forgot what his name is, who was supposed to face Jose, he was supposed to face Jorge Linares before Jorge Linares got the COVID-19, right? Jorge Linares now, he's pretty good now. But, so there's levels to the sport of boxing. So Lomachenko getting tagged more because guys are getting more familiar to what he brings to the table, his style, which is I'll work around you style, step around you style, circle of whatever. So like I said before, that means to step around a guy, you got to be close enough to them to step around them. If you're on the outside, you can't step around nothing. Somebody was telling me how Lomachenko saw one of my videos and he was like, if Teofimo Lopez do what I say, yeah, Lomachenko will get him. You can't get shit if Teofimo Lopez executes what I say. I could tell Lomachenko that for a fact. And we saw it against Jamal Charlo versus Derevyanchenko, who's a step around kind of guy. You got to get within the pocket and you got to get close enough to your opponent to step around him. And I don't care how explosive or quick you are. You're not stepping around a guy if he's respecting distance. When you take 2 steps forwards, he takes 2 steps backwards on a pivot. You ain't doing shit. Especially keep you off with the jab. You ain't doing shit to him. Right? And that's what in fact, what's his name? And this is just boxing. You have to find a way to get through, and Lomachenko will have to go down the center if a guy's protecting his weak side. Charlo was actually walking down Derevyanchenko at a certain point behind his stick because again he's working off an angle coming in, and if Lomachenko isn't careful, and if Teofimo Lopez is doing what he's doing, I know Teofimo not even shaving nothing. He training like a motherfucker because he knows he can get Lomachenko out of there. He knows. He got exactly what it takes to knock out Lomachenko. He has everything necessary to stop him. And Lomachenko knows this. That's why Lomachenko's talking so funny. Yeah, I never seen Lomachenko so vocal before. That's out of his character. And there's a reason why that's so. He knows. He knows, and Teofimo Lopez knows. And that's why I said my pick is Teofimo Lopez in 5. Okay? He knows. He knows very well. There are levels to the sport of boxing. And it's these young guys' time. Lomachenko, man, if he had gotten into the pros earlier, he would have had a longer run. you know. But just like Gennady Golovkin's ducking these young guns, he ain't want nothing to do with Jamel Charlo or with Demetrius Andre. He's not gonna touch them boys. That's for Canelo. He ducked the fuck out of Charlo, and he ducked the fuck out of Demetrius Andre. Sorry about the French. He not touching them boys. Lomachenko, if he had a choice, and he could have faced Luke Campbell again, he'd have faced Luke Campbell again. You think he want to face Teofimo Lopez? Fuck no. But he got the strap. You see, he's got the strap. I already know what's going on. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. This ain't gonna be rocket science. If Teofimo Lopez knocks out Lomachenko, that's not gonna be surprising to me. Not at all. Because that's the kryptonite of a southpaw. And Lomachenko is a southpaw. He's not a guy that fights ambidextrously. He doesn't switch stances and all of that. He might try to do it in this fight. I behave out of character, but he's a southpaw. And he has to. Listen, it's not if about. He's not an outboxer because he don't have the reach to do it. He has to get to the inside. He has to get in the pocket. And if you restrict how he gets into the pocket, he has to come down the center. So once you take away weak side from his how you circle backwards, if you're going to move backwards, you move backwards so he doesn't get a weak side access, which means the only place he can go when he's going forward, he has to throw the lead left hand down the center. And how he angles his body will determine if he can feint you and catch you down the center. Floyd had to do that when he's fighting Pacquiao. His attack is down the center. He'll try to get lead for position, but if Pacquiao, which he does, circles in a anti-clockwise fashion, takes away the angle. So Floyd can't get the shots off. That's the trick with this boxing. You see? If I circle, so watch me here. I'm going to stand up for a minute. I was running for a minute. Okay, so if I'm here, I'm a southpaw, right? I'm a southpaw. To take away your weak side, I circle this way. Okay? Because then you can't come around me. All right? When I'm attacking you, I'm still circling this way, but I'm inching in on you. I'm inching in on you this way. That takes off the angle. Lomachenko will want to go that way. As an orthodox fighter, this way, I'm in the orthodox stance now. Okay, see my shoulder there? I'm an orthodox fighter, right? I'm going to circle this way. Anti-clockwise as well. And even if I'm coming in on you, I'm going to circle anti-clockwise. If I'm moving backwards, I'll circle anti-clockwise. Right? Now, I'm going into your power hand, so you can hit me with your power hand if you're quicker than I am. But since you're shorter than me and I got a reach advantage on you, I should be able to catch you. And if you come stepping in, I could counterpunch you with the check hook. You see? So just those basic tools is all you need. You need a right hand. Your left hand's a check hook to keep the guy honest. And you circle the right way. You circle the weirdest way. You circle into the guy's power hand. But it takes away from the weak side. And now the other guy, to get around you and to get around your power hand, has to come through a certain range. So once you keep a certain distance from that dude, which is what Zepeda failed to do, he failed to keep distance. That's why he kept on getting punched by Baranchyk. Baranchyk has a quick right hand that he throws, but you only get hit that way if you are within range to be hit that way. And Zepeda should have been smart enough to do that. That's why he kept on getting dropped. And another time he was attacking Baranchyk and he squared up, and that's how Baranchyk was able to counterpunch him and put him down. So, in short, what I'm saying is that Lomachenko can't do you nothing if you maintain in range. And then you can start walking his ass down off the stick. Once you establish range, you can walk him down. Very much the same way. Because as I said before, he feeds off of weak side attack. He can also spin. It's harder to go to your power hand. The reason being that you have to take, you got to be within a certain range of your opponent. And then you step around him like this, right? You step around him. But it's easier to step around this way. It's easier to step around this way because it's just one step. When you're stepping around the opponent this way, you have to step here and then pivot. Okay? And even then, you might not have perfect range. You might have to adjust it. Lomachenko, he lunges in and then he steps around behind you to make sure he cleared you completely, which is what Zepeda was doing again. But step in to step around. And when he's stepping in, that's when you catch him. You catch him stepping in because you know he got to come in. And that's where Tio can wait for him and just land the right hand at will. And the two things that gave away that Lomachenko, he's just talking shit because he knows that what I'm saying is the truth. This is the first one. The first one is he said that Lopez had a lucky punch against the former IBF champion. Okay? I wasn't luck. He check hooked him before and wobbled him. And he threw the same punch in round one. It just happened to fall short. The guy was open for the punch for the 2 rounds. Okay? That wasn't a lucky punch. So if Lomachenko saying that, he's bullshitting us. The second thing he said that shocked me, that he would say bullshit like that. And it showed me he's playing what I should say. He's playing poker right now. Is when he said that Teofimo Lopez, I'm a chop him up for all the talk he be talking. I'm gonna chop him up. That's not Lomachenko. Lomachenko don't say that shit. He don't shit talk. That's out of his character. He says he keep running his mouth. I'm gonna chop him up. How you gonna chop up shit? You ain't gonna chop up shit if you can't get to shit. You a short little guy. You got good feet, but you can't get there unless you some kind of supernatural person, right? If Teofimo Lopez maintains range, meaning when Lomachenko stepped forward, he stepped back on a pivot. In the beginning, he could set the trap because, see, you don't always have to step back. See, you can feint the step back and counter his ass, right? And make him walk into a punch because you orientate your bodies, but you have to be on the pivot all the time. And then that's like what Floyd did to Pacquiao. He just, oh man, Pacquiao ran into that shit. He didn't even see it coming, right? But the point is that real boxing, is now what we talking about. And Lomachenko's talking out his ass. Teofimo Lopez said some shit out his ass too. Lomachenko can't fight going back. Fuck no. Yeah, of course he can fight going back. What the hell are you talking about? But if you put pressure on him, smart pressure off the jab, using proper footwork, like I said and I explained, and when you push him back, you're really going to push him back and you're going to work him like Charlo worked Derevyanchenko. Okay, Derevyanchenko was an orthodox fighter though. But the point is, even though I guarantee you Lomachenko will get on the inside every now and then, but he will take a lot of punishment to get there. And it'll look more like a normal boxing fight than it will look like how he dominates guys. You see? But Tio, the problem with it is he gonna run into it'll almost be like Tio can't miss that right hand. At a certain point, it'll look like Tio just can't miss the right hand. The right hand's gonna greet Lomachenko every single time because he has to get into the pocket. He gonna be standing on the outside, then go jab, and try and get in. And he's going to get hit with the right. Y'all gonna say, what the hell, man? Right hands all night until the fight's over. That right hand will not be able to miss because the right hand is the kryptonite of a southpaw. It's just what it is if you know how to use it. All you got to have is a certain kind of footwork, which I just explained. Now, he could circle another way. He could circle the other way. He could mix it up and circle the other way towards Lomachenko's weak side. He could do that. But in order to do that, when he does that, he could give up lead foot positioning, but he would give it up to counter Lomachenko. He's actually trying to draw him in to counterpunch him. But to do that, luckily he does use the shell defense. He'll have to use virtual footwork or what we call remote footwork. So if he's using his remote footwork like he likes to do, again, this is something Teofimo Lopez just does naturally. He's trained himself to do it. He won't catch him coming in with an uppercut or with a straight lead right, a right counter. And I'm telling you, man, the right hand's gonna have fun. That right hand gonna be used. That's the kryptonite for Lomachenko, the right hand. And almost all night long, I don't care if Lomachenko throw a jab or not, if they Tia want to wrestle with him with the jab in hand, what, blind him with the jab, whatever. But at the end of the day, the thing that is the tool that again has to do with is Teofimo Lopez have that orientation of his body down pat. Because once you got that, that's the inbuilt defense right there. It doesn't matter what Lomachenko does. All you got to do is turn and face him. You cut off the angle. He has to come down the center. You must come down the center. You make him come down the center, it's all over. Game over. He got to come down the center. It means you want to take punishment. Double right hands, triple right hands. He gonna be using the right hand like if it's a jab, like a piston jab. You know, that's the key. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I don't have a problem talking about the game plan because I already know that's just the way how boxing goes. Whether Teal can execute that or not is another story. I think he's working his ass off, which I know that means trouble for Lomachenko. And Derevyanchenko said size is not going to be the problem. So Lomachenko has sparred, 160 pounds. So when Teofimo beats Lomachenko's ass, y'all can't say size was a problem. Y'all can't make that an excuse. Oh, Teo was too big for him. Okay. Now Roy comes around and says, well, he in a bigger weight class, so these guys hit harder. So that's the reason why I get marked up so much. But guess what? Floyd go up to higher weight classes. He didn't get marked up like that. There was one guy that marked him up. Okay. But Oscar didn't mark him up. Canelo didn't mark him up. Cotto marked him up. And that's not because Cotto was a bigger guy. It's because Cotto hits hard anyway. Cotto got skill. Skills is why he got marked up. So it's not about, it was never about, everybody who knows about this, everybody who know boxing know skills win you fights. It's not size and weight. I remember Roger Mayweather talking about that. He said skills win you fights. Skills. The S word that intangible boxing wants to skirt around. Skills. You got to have skills in boxing. And that's something that's taught. Skills is not talent. Skills is not God gifting. Skills is something you're taught. It's your schooling in boxing. And you cannot dismiss skill. There are other things that play a role in winning fights, but skills is one of them. You gotta be able, you gotta have embraced this. You have to have imbibed the skills to the point where it's muscle memory from so much repetition. So I mean, that's what it's about. It's not. Everybody's thinking that Loma's the most skilled boxer out there, and he's like Mayweather, and they liken him to Mayweather. The gold standard of boxing. The best ever. I'm gonna slam that in some people's face because they don't like to hear that, but he the best ever. But he's not Mayweather. Lomachenko's not Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? He's not. He ain't mark up in fights against guys like Luke Campbell and guys that, Luke Campbell sparred him, and Jose Pedraza put a beating on him. His face looked all battered and bruised, right? That's because their skill level and what it brought to the table, Loma barely separated himself from that. That's what happened. Jose Pedraza is a switch hitter. He fights on the inside, bows and weaves. You know what I'm saying? You saw what he did to his last opponent. So it's not just the size. It's not just the size. It's the skills you got to look at. And if you ask me, Pedraza versus Teofimo Lopez, who you think would win? Not rocket science. I got Teofimo Lopez there all day, all day. Vastly better fighter than Pedraza. And we will see that. Okay? We'll see that on display. Everybody talking about, Teofimo Lopez, he's flat-footed and, he don't move that much. Okay. I'm still rocking with Teofimo Lopez in 5. In 5. Yeah. Not to say that Lomachenko is not a brilliant fighter, and and he can't do a lot of things, but he has limitations. I told you that. I know how to beat this guy. He has limitations. He can't infight, not on the level of his mid-range game, and he certainly can't outbox because he don't have the reach to outbox. He has to go in and out. His key range, like Pacquiao, like Derevyanchenko, like Alexander Usyk, all these guys, his key range is mid-range. That's where he can step around you and do his thing. You take that from him. You tie him up on the inside. You lock him up on the inside if you want. Take away his mid-range game. So how do I do that? If a guy likes to come in on mid-range and work around me, what do? Once I throw my jab and I come in, I slide in. Slip and slide is always very important in boxing. And Teofimo Lopez can slip and slide. So when I slide in on this motherfucker, so he want to come mid-range, I draw in even closer. And I'll lock him up as he's pivoting, whichever way. He will have to slide back out, which means excess movement and slide around me, if he can slide. And I could reach out and lock him up if I want to, and pull him into me, and then put my weight down on him and push him around the ring. I'm just showing you some things because I think a lot of you guys don't understand. This is boxing. And when you are crafty, when you're skilled, when you are smart, you understand the game. And you understand a game plan to beat a guy. You know, Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson. Everybody's thinking Mike Tyson could come out there and knock out Roy. Roy's taking it seriously. He's supposed to. I'm going to tell you this. If I got a hand in a guy's face, he can't see shit. I blind him. Okay? Hand speed does stand for something when you know what to do with your hand speed. Not just about hurting the guy and damaging him early. It's about confusing him as well. One thing about Roy is his footwork. Even though his knees are bad, his footwork and what he can do off of angles will work to his favor. Because Tyson never meet nobody who could do that. And Roy could sit in the pocket even with Tyson. And even though Tyson might be bigger and physically stronger than Roy, he could actually control him. He knows what he's doing. So, I'm not advocating that Roy fight him exclusively in the pocket. And I don't think guns should be blazing either. I think you should be smart in there. And if Roy is smart and he's not getting touched, because he takes pride in not getting touched, can't be touched, baby, then you ain't got to worry about nothing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about nothing. No. But I think that Roy, you know, I think he still hangs with Mike Tyson. I don't think he gets stopped. This is not a fight where you're meeting a Tyson who has been in the pro ring for a very long time. You know, that's where Roy will get his advantage. And Roy just had to come in there, be super sharp. Cause I don't think Tyson's ever met, the last guy Tyson met who was sharp like that was Lennox Lewis. And we all know the story with Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. Lennox Lewis had to go to court and sue Mike Tyson's promoter, Don King, to get Mike Tyson in the ring with him. You know, when Mike Tyson first faced Evander Holyfield after coming out of prison and after winning the world title, I think it was, he was supposed to actually face Lennox Lewis then. Tyson was ducking Lewis like a plague. He didn't want no piece of Lewis. A lot of people don't know this. Okay? I'm going to say this right now. Whoever hates me, I don't care. The best heavyweight of all time. The best heavyweight. And I'm not saying the greatest. Lennox Lewis didn't have that. But the best heavyweight of all time, Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis. Best. It's a bad motherfucker. Bad boy. Ask Evander Holyfield how cerebral this guy was. What I mean by that is, when I mean cerebral, I'm not saying he's thinking like that, but I mean, it's a manner of speaking when you say thinking in the ring, okay? The man was a scientist. Even before Emmanuel Stewart, man. 92 AKU says that you have seen. Yes, sir. But I mean of all time. Of all time. You know, I've seen Jack Johnson fight. Slick motherfucker. Slick. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the old school fighters fight. But the baddest motherfucker I ever seen was Lennox Lewis. Baddest motherfucker I've ever seen. Whether on tape or live. You know what I'm saying? Jack Dempsey was great. Gene Tunney schooled his ass. And Gene Tunney was a scientist of his day. I mean, today, Gene Tunney is, yeah. But he was a scientist of his day. Gene Tunney schooled his ass. Okay? Schooled it. 92 AKU says mine is Joe Louis the GOAT. I never said greatest. Y'all keep on talking about greatest of all time. Don't mix the two up. Don't mix the two up. I'm not talking about the greatest of all time. I think the greatest boxer of all time is Muhammad Ali. Period. Period. Greatest. Man superseded boxing. Great man. He brought all kinds of shit to the game. Shit talking. He took it to a whole other level, predicting fights. Man was entertainment himself. You know, when Ali stepped in the room, you felt a different energy. Okay? You know what I'm saying? When we talk about the GOAT, for me, it's Muhammad Ali. You know. But when we're talking about boxing, not like, I'm not talking about AKU. I'm not talking about you know, all the other things. I'm talking about the sweet science. That guy is Lennox Lewis. And you know what's interesting? They're both Lewises, Joe Louis and Lennox Lewis. They spelled differently, but both of them, Lennox Lewis and Joe Louis, have the highest connect percentages in all of boxing history. If them boys touch you, they're going to rock you. You know what I'm saying? Lennox Lewis had a connect percentage of, I think it was 49% or 48%, and Joe Louis was around about the same thing. Them guys was very accurate. They didn't waste punches. But Joe Louis is a lot smaller than Lennox Lewis. And Joe Louis was also a guy that didn't face the kind of competition that Lennox Lewis did. Lennox Lewis faced, you know, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. He faced Tommy Morrison. He faced what's the guy's name? Merciless Ray Mercer, and you know, Shannon the Cannon Briggs. You know, these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Joe Louis faced Max Schmeling. He faced James J. Braddock. He faced Jersey Joe Walker, and then he lost to Ezra Childs. You know what I'm saying? That's about it. You know what I'm saying? He had a great accomplishments, Joe Louis. Hell of a fighter, don't get me wrong. Flat-footed mostly. Lennox could fight on the outside really well. His inside game wasn't that great. You know, Joe Louis was a lot smaller than Lennox. If Lennox was to face Joe Louis, I got Lennox Lewis beating his ass. That's what I mean by the best ever. When I talk about the best ever, I'm talking about a motherfucker that just had game. And Lennox had the agility of a cat. There's a big fucking massive man, 6'4". But this motherfucker could get low. This motherfucker could move on his toes so silently, like an assassin, like a motherfucking assassin. Joe Louis was flat-footed. You know what I mean? Had every single shot in the book, had really great defense. But guys who could move around the ring, like Billy Conn and Jersey Joe Walker, gave him all kinds of problems and beat his ass. You know what I'm saying? Beat his ass. He just was lucky against Billy Conn. Billy Conn decided to sit down and trade with him because he got so cocky. He got so confident. Billy Conn would have easily beat him on points. You know what I'm saying? Not only Billy Conn, but Jersey Joe Walker did the same shit. You know, dropped him twice and thought, I could walk through this guy. And that's why they lost the fight. But with Lennox Lewis, you couldn't do that shit to Lennox. And this is a 6'4" man. Okay? But he was like a fucking predator. You know what I'm saying? And Vitaly Klitschko, let me break it to you. Lennox Lewis himself said, I wasn't trying to win the fight on points against Klitschko. I wanted to go out in a bang. I wanted to knock his ass out. I wanted to stop him. I wasn't interested in. I wasn't interested in. He. They say he was the bad boy, and I wanted to stop his ass. I wasn't looking to win rounds. You know what I'm saying? And you saw it. He started landing in the fourth and fifth rounds. He started landing uppercuts. You know, and his jab was starting to work. You know, Klitschko was outpointing him, no doubt about it. He was outpointing him. He would have won the fight if, you know, by technical decision. Let's say it was a headbutt. But that cut wasn't caused by a headbutt. That cut was caused by a punch. In fact, it wasn't one cut. It was 5 cuts. He had multiple cuts on his face, and that's from hands. That's from a guy putting hands on you. Okay. Now, if he was outboxing him and he wasn't getting touched, that was totally different. But the motherfucker was getting touched. What the hell's wrong with y'all? Talking about Klitschko was winning the fight. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? He stopped him. He stopped him. It was off of cuts, unfortunately. But if that fight went on longer, Klitschko wouldn't have been able to defend himself because he wouldn't have been able to see it through his eye. He might have lose his eye as well. And the table had turned. The table had turned a while back. And Lennox was putting it on him. And the referee stopped the fight. He lucky. Because y'all wouldn't be bragging like this and talking about Klitschko gave him some work. Y'all wouldn't have been bragging like this. He would have been on his back. Because one thing we know about Lennox Lewis, he going to knock your ass out. He going to box you, but he going to knock your ass out. Bad motherfucker. That's the baddest man I ever seen. Baddest man I ever seen. Now, I'm not knocking you for Joe Louis. Joe Louis is a great name. He a great name. I'm not knocking you on Joe Louis. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not knocking you on Joe Louis. Max Schmillam laid him out, though. Cold. In its prime. Okay? Y'all want to talk about, oh, Lennox didn't have a chin. Well, what the fuck? What the fuck happened to Joe Louis? Max Schmeling laid him out cold. Cold. No, that's the heavyweight division. And don't try to trivialize Lennox Lewis. Some of y'all haters out there. I know what it is. I know what it is. That's perfection. Unlike Joe Louis. Okay? Lennox Lewis beat everybody he faced. Not a man was allowed to go away with a win smiling like I got the better of him. No, motherfucker. He wrecked them all. He stopped them all. That's the difference between Lennox Lewis and any other fighter in the heavyweight history except for Rocky Marciano. But Rocky Marciano just never faced the kind of level of competition Lennox Lewis did consistently. You know, he fought a bunch of guys that was just, you know, guys. But Joe Louis will always go down in history as the longest reigning champion. You know, he's done his thing. So, I mean, Joe Louis is a great name. Don't get me wrong. '92 AKU says, Joe Louis faces the U.S. government. For real, dude. I got Joe Louis by KO over Lennox. Well, Lennox knocking him out? Yeah, Lennox would knock him out because he's too small. He's too small. He was like, what, 185? 185, and he's flat-footed. That's not a good recipe, bro. That's not a good recipe. he get knocked out. He get stopped. Good fighter though. Had a hell of a punch for a small guy. But he fit in light heavyweight. He too small for Lennox. Just way too fucking small. And he wasn't specifically fast or anything. He just had great timing. You're talking about a 244-pound guy that moves like a cat. Just his jab alone would mess up, you know, Joe Louis. He'd just be jabbing him. 244 pounds, you know, of pressure being put down on a dude was 185 pounds. That's not right. That ain't a fair fight. We're talking about a super welterweight versus a very small welterweight. This is just he gonna get dusted, bro. Different era, different time. You know, it's just a different era, different time. Ain't nothing. Rocky Marciano and all would get destroyed by him because Rocky again was a small he was a small heavyweight. He's a small guy. I mean, Jack Dempsey was a small guy, and he was tenacious. Rocky was a tenacious dude. Might have given Lennox about 1 or 2 rounds, but then again, Rocky couldn't fight going backwards. Just like Tyson can't fight going backwards. So if Lennox started to make you do something you don't want to do, what happens after that? I mean, this ain't rocket science for me, but I mean, these are good names. Don't get me wrong, Joe Louis is a hell of a name. He's a hell of a name. Don't get me wrong. And if you're a Joe Louis fan, great. But this ain't about being a fan right now. This is about just facts. This is just about what is. You know what I mean? Yeah, Lennox avenged both his KO losses, man. And I mean, he really avenged them. Like he made them guys. He made them guys know, hey, that was because I was slipping. He set that record straight. I mean, he was walking down Hasim Rahman. He was walking him down in the first fight, and then he put up his hand to try and guard, and Hasim Rahman caught him with that looping right hand, put him down, boy. Good looping right hand too. Smack. And then with the Oliver McCall situation, he did get back up to start back fighting, and the ref called off the fight, so it was what it is. My boy Hasim Rahman sent Lennox to the depths of hell, for sure. Lennox started chasing his ass down. Had Lennox doing the testifying church, laying on the floor with both arms up. I remember that shit. That was on him though. He should have beaten those guys. Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman. He should have beaten those guys. Had to go chasing down McCall. Then he had to go chasing down Rahman to get the fights, because them guys wasn't wanting to. They didn't want to face him again. Had Oliver McCall crying in the ring. He beat his ass so bad the boy started to cry. The boy started crying. Lennox said, "Yeah, I was prepared for everything except for him crying in the ring." He was watching him like, "Man, the man's sad." Hey, man, your shoulder was like, "Finish your business, fool." Oh my god. Oh, boxing is so funny. Yeah, man. Oliver McCall was crying because he tried to come through. And Lennox tagged his ass up so bad he started crying, man. He had a grown man crying in the ring. He didn't want to take no more punishment. Ooh, and this is a man that sparred Tyson, Oliver McCall. But he couldn't take it, boy. He couldn't take that shit. He realized he couldn't win. He started crying. My thing is this, right? My thing is this. I try to explain to people that they were some bad boys back in the day. A lot of great boxers, don't get me wrong. A lot of great boxers. But my thing is this. You have to understand that in boxing, which is a sport, there's always going to be somebody to test you. Your thing is you have to be able to get yourself up to a level to meet that challenge. And the only way you could do that is by taking every fight seriously. If you really want to be great, because I know of guys hell of a lot more talented, hell of a lot more capable, with a lot more God gifted than some of the guys who had much better records than them. That's because the other guys felt that they always had a challenge. They always had a goal, to meet that challenge. And that's why. I mean, Zab Judah could have been, phenomenal. He had everything it took to be, really one of the greatest of all time, right? The best ever. He had it. And yet he never was always up for the challenge. And the same way with Lennox Lewis. But Lennox Lewis is on a whole other level. But Lennox Lewis, he wasn't always up for every single fight. And you can't be like that. You can't be just because it's this opponent or that opponent. And because he was chasing Tyson, he wanted a Tyson fight. So look how John Rael Casimiro behaved. Even though he had to face Judah Micah, right? He made sure he treat that boy how he's supposed to be treated. Because just because I'm up for an Inui fight doesn't mean I'm gonna take this other guy in front of me for granted. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you have to look at it. Pacquiao did that same thing. Pacquiao took Marquez for granted, right? and he looked past Marquez to Mayweather. You know, and look what happened to him, right? And I've seen it time and time again. Paul Williams calling out Mayweather. You got Quintana in front of you, man. Focus on Quintana. Stop asking what's up. 100%. You know, you got Quintana to deal with. You ain't got, you know what I'm saying? If Fury beats AJ, and Wilder, he would have an argument for the greatest heavyweight of all time. No, he will not. Not at all. He'll never be like Muhammad Ali. Come on, man. Y'all even know what Muhammad Ali did for years? He went all around the world speaking about uh, certain prejudices that we have in jokey form, but he talked about a lot of things. He took a stand on certain things. He'll never be the greatest. It's just what it is. Ali is what he said he was. He fulfilled what he said he was. He was the greatest. You know, he not gonna be the greatest. Now, if you're talking about the best ever heavyweight, it's possible, but he's still gonna have to do a lot more work. He's gonna have to do a lot more work to be the best ever. But if he calls himself the best ever, hey, I ain't knocking him. If he says it, then I'm buying it because his actions are speaking louder than words right now. You know what I mean? He beat Anthony Joshua. He beat Deontay Wilder, the most dominant forces in boxing. Yeah, you know, we got to give him some prop with that. You know what I'm saying? I still don't think he would be better than Lennox because he'd had to dust a couple more guys, in my opinion, just to show longevity, because longevity is also important in boxing. You know, we got a lot of young fighters now doing some really incredible things, much more than the past great fighters have done. And so a lot of them have a shot at being the best ever. But in terms of best ever heavyweight, I mean Tyson Fury, man, we talking boxing in the ring. Yes, sir. Don't forget Klitschko. Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko, man. Bad motherfucker. Bad motherfucker. That jab, boy. That jab. He was a bad boy. You know, I have a lot of respect for Vladimir Klitschko. You know, I'm actually subscribed to his channel on YouTube. Um, Man, hell of a clinical jab. I know he used to clinch guys and stuff like that, but man, he had so much variation to his jab and what he did with it. It was like it was his own organisms. You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the again he's one of the great heavyweights. And his longevity was ridiculous. You know, his longevity was ridiculous. He had stamina problems. He couldn't certain he couldn't throw a certain amount of punch output without getting tired, and that's on him. He should have worked on his conditioning to get past that hurdle, but he never did. So he clinch up to slow down the fight and that kind of thing. But again, very technical fighter. Um, Very technical fighter. You know, especially with the jab. That was his thing. Jab right hand. Emmanuel Stewart schooling. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Lennox Lewis wasn't a great guy with the jab. I'm sure he was, um, as well. But Lennox had a lot more variety and footwork, and he had a better stamina than Klitschko, and he was just all around a better fighter. Like Klitschko was a good fighter, but you know he was still, how do I say, he wasn't very fluid. He was very technical, but very stiff at the same time. Whereas Lennox Lewis was fluid, and he had beautiful footwork to go with that. And while he wasn't really the greatest inside fighter, he could trade in the pocket. He knew how to fight in the pocket as well. So he had a lot more game. He wasn't just a clinch up. He wasn't just a hit you, punch you, grab you kind of guy. Like Klitschko. Undefeated Klitschko, all time great. But I hated his style, just not for me. Not saying he's not great. He's a great fighter, man. But I think what happened is later on in his career, he just punched and grabbed or punch and weigh down his weight on you. And that's kind of like what's this guy's name? And then he didn't have any style or any special anything that he did. He was just very robotic, very routes, you know, very technical. I know there was a lot of hard work that was put into that, but yeah, he reminded me of that Mexican fighter. I forgot what his name is, who was lightweight champion for a very long time. Mickey Bay beat him, but really didn't beat him. But it was so much clinching, like it was ridiculous. Like it's punch and clinch. You know what I mean? That was Klitschko, punch and clinch. and weigh down you. you know, and that sucked the life out of boxing for the people, but it was effective. Stop asking, what's up? Clit shows look like statues, but they hit you. If they hit you, it's similar to old Foreman, in my opinion. Yeah, they punch hard, boy, and they were strong. So if they gripped you, that was it. You know what I'm saying? Sub Askin says Lennox Lewis was a very intelligent fighter. Does uppercuts from underneath with a thing of beauty. Yeah, and I like his different kinds of jabs too. He'd have a jab that's just outside as well. He keep it away from his guard, extended guard, kind of like this out here, and he just pop it right there. And it's so many different things he do that were impressive. Like how he positioned himself, or even his defense was pretty interesting. You know how he would move himself outside of the center line, and just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. The man could box. He really could box. And he was more of a boxer puncher. He was not a brawler. You know, and how he pieced up Evander Holyfield in 2 fights. Nobody else had done that to Evander Holyfield, except for James Toney. Completely confusing. 92 AQ says, I'm glad that era is over. Thank you, boxing gods, for Wilder, Fury, and AJ. Yeah, it's a lot more exciting now. And Klitschko was mostly fighting guys from Europe, so he wasn't really even fighting in the United States. So, it is what it is. After he beat Chris Bird. Chris Bird was a good fighter, too. Somebody's calling me. Hey, man, I got to wrap it up. Subasker says, Muhammad Ali perfected the leaning on people. He would pull on your neck. He'd just wear your ass out. Yeah, because he couldn't fight on the inside. Couldn't fight on the inside. You know what I mean? He was good at sharpshooting from the outside. Again, nice footwork and stuff, but and something we've never seen again in boxing. But little tricks of the trade. There's all kinds of little tricks they do. All little tricks of the trade. I'm gonna catch you guys later, man. I'm what you need. So yeah, Teofimo Lopez versus Vasily Lomachenko. I think I said just about everything I wanted to say about that. Yeah, I still think that Lopez is gonna win. Definitely, just the way how Lopez has committed himself to this particular fight. I think he wants to make a statement, and I think, unfortunately, Lomachenko is going to be part of that statement. But listen here, that doesn't take anything away from Lomachenko in terms of his accomplishments in boxing. Hopefully, also, we see some more great things from him. Be nice if he could pass the torch to a younger fighter for this new generation of boxers. He mesmerized us a lot with boxing, so I'm not doing his eulogy, okay? I'm just saying. I'm just saying that, if Teofimo Lopez beats him, this is the reason. Oh yeah, I mean, yes, of course I'm a fan of Lomachenko, but let me make this abundantly clear. I think Floyd Mayweather said it the same thing. I think Terrence Crawford is a way better boxer than Lomachenko. Way better boxer. It's night and day. Like, Terrence Crawford, while he gets hit too, he gets hit quite a lot, especially these days. He brings to the table a certain kind of footwork, and same thing with Mikey Garcia. That's why Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia. I always thought Mikey Garcia would beat him. I always thought Mikey would beat him because again, these guys they study boxing. Like they don't play boxing. Like they really know their boxing. And Terrence knows his boxing. I was watching a Terrence spar just recently, man. Stop asking says my head is telling me your head, that Lomachenko is going to win. Okay, that's good. But the betting odds lean so heavily to Lopez. If you put like $200 on Lopez to get the KO before 5 rounds, the payoff is huge. Man, you better put that money down on Lopez, bro. You better put that. Listen, man, you should put that money down on Lopez. Trust me. Listen. This is one time, man. Anyway, I'm not gonna say nothing. You don't have to do nothing. You just believe what you want to believe. Believe what you want to believe, bro. I don't hate Lomachenko or nothing. I don't hate him at all. Don't get me twisted, but dude. If you could get that money, you better put a little $200 down on that. That's a paycheck right there. That's good money right there. Bud Crawford is my number one fighter, man. But I watched that Bud training, man. This motherfucker, dude, dude, this dude. This dude. He looked good. He looked very, very good. What he was doing looked very, very good. I love his balance. His balance got improved. His balance is improving. I'm very impressed. Yeah, Bud just need to keep working at his craft. Don't worry, he gonna get his shine. It's Bud, Demetrius Andre, Jamal Charlo. Them boys gonna get their shine. They finally gonna get their shine. They're gonna get their time to show the world what they really got, what they really bring to the table. It's gonna come. You know, I was watching the Arrow too. Arrow been sparring and shit. Arrow looking good. Arrow looks good. You know, everybody saying Danny gonna beat Arrow. Okay, okay, we'll see. I already put 2 bills on Lopez, bro. It's all good. You put the money because sometimes, especially where he's the underdog, great, great. Make your money, brother. Make your money. That right there is a good fight to put your money on. You know, if you lose your money, you lose $200. Okay. But I'm saying, if you win your money, you winning some money. That's a good fight to put your money on. Cause I'm telling you, man, some people even say it's 50-50. I think Leo Santa Cruz said it's 50-50. Shit. That's a good fight, man. That's a really good fight. You know, even Roy Jones Jr. said, you know, Lopez is so explosive. Um, that's a huge factor. Loma have to keep him off balance for the whole entire fucking night. You know, to try and keep him from doing something. You know, he got to go. Loma had to go out on him from the beginning, and he got to be careful too, so that he could get him to fight his fight. He gonna have to bully him from the beginning, try to play on his inexperience. That's the only way Loma got kind of a shot at. Because if Lopez falls into his game, it's over. It's over. So I wish Lomachenko all the best. I hope he wins. Part of me wants him to see him win. And part of me want to see Lopez win, but I have the feeling Lopez is gonna win that for sure. Garcia's getting knocked out by Pacquiao. You think so? Nah. Nah, Garcia's got too good a defense, man. This is Mikey Garcia you're talking about. He went face to face with Errol Spence. And he the first guy Errol Spence didn't level down. Pacquiao ain't doing that shit to Mikey. Mikey's a student of the game, man. And he don't have to worry about reach advantage with Pacquiao. And he sparred Pacquiao before. That is not happening. Pacquiao couldn't knock out Adrian Broner. He's going to knock out Mikey Garcia. Come on, man. Mikey beat Adrian Broner. Have you forgotten? This is Mikey Garcia we're talking about here. He beat Jesse Vargas just recently. Dropped him, too. Pacquiao going to have his hands full with Mikey. That's a good fight. It's a good fight for Pacquiao. It's a dangerous fight for Pacquiao. It's dangerous. Because Mikey can pop. And Jesse Vargas was all the way up to 154. And Mikey put him down. Y'all tripping, man. Y'all think Mikey looks simple, doesn't he? When he's fighting, he look real simple. There's a lot of things Mikey be doing that make it look so simple. But Mikey's got hell of a defense, and he's got footwork, man. Like, you have no idea. Textbook. He's a textbook guy like Lomachenko. If Mikey was to face Lomachenko, Mikey would beat Lomachenko. He would beat him. Too smart a fighter. Very smart. You know, anyway, y'all gonna see. You'll see. Mikey Garcia will face Pacquiao. And when Mikey beats Pacquiao, then y'all gonna say, whoa, I don't believe this. That's the dude that Errol Spence beat. That will show you the level that Errol Spence is on. You know. Oh, Mikey being knocked out by Spence? He didn't get knocked out by Spence. Couldn't. Spence can't knock him out. Oh, Danny Garcia. Nah, Danny's not going to get knocked out by Spence. Sorry. Nah, that's not happening either. Danny Garcia is not going. Danny Garcia is strong as F. Danny Garcia is strong. If Keith Thurman couldn't knock out Danny Garcia, Errol Spence is not knocking out Danny Garcia. So that's not happening. That's another thing that's not happening. This is Danny Garcia we're talking about. Danny Garcia, has Danny Garcia ever gotten dropped? I don't recall Danny ever being dropped. Far less getting stopped. That's not happening. And Danny's getting bigger and bigger. He's getting bigger and stronger. Errol will have to box him. Errol will have to box him. That's how he's going to beat Danny. If he tries to duke it out with Danny and Danny catches him with a shot, Danny hits hard as F. Danny hits hard. You know, Errol's strong, don't get me wrong. So if he gets caught with something, but I got a little respect for Mikey. Throws a really tight punches, doesn't give you a lot of chances to counter. Smart kid. Yep. Oh, you know that. And his footwork is incredible. It's very simple, but very tricky. He's a very tricky fighter. And he's watching everything you do. He's reading you. Mikey Garcia, he's not no joke. A lot of people, he was too small for Errol, and Mikey ain't nothing because Errol beat him so easy. But it wasn't easy, and Errol was very careful because he saw the power that Mikey was throwing, and Mikey just stepped up into. But see, Mikey is a guy who he don't do something that he won't throw caution to the wind and just wing punches. He don't do that. It's very systematic. So if he couldn't systematically get in on Errol, which he couldn't do, he had nothing else he could do. He's very systematic in how he attacks. That's why if Pacquiao faces Mikey Garcia next, it's a fantastic fight for Pacquiao. He's 40. He's going to be 42 at the end of this year. And so, a 42-year-old facing a young guy like Mikey, that in itself is an incredible accomplishment, okay? And then on top of that, for him to even engage and be competitive would be great. And the fact that he could pull out a win on Mikey would be even greater. So I look forward to that. But yeah, him facing Mikey would be a good matchup. I know Mikey's not a champion or anything. I don't know if Pacquiao might want to unify. I don't know what he would want to do. I think I would have, if I was Pacquiao, I don't know, man. I mean, what does he got to prove by unifying? Like, dude's 42. Do you understand? That's a ridiculous figure. This 42-year-old guy coming in with these 30-year-olds. Come on, man. That's crazy. But anything Pacquiao wants to do, if he dares to be great and he decides to face one of the champions for unification, whether it's Bud or Errol, I would have picked Errol. If I'm going to go all in, I'll pick Errol because he got more belts. You know what I mean? But, train my ass off for the final fight of my career or something and just really go hard. Because this is the last one, the last hurrah. I don't think he could go for undisputed because the punishment he took with Thurman, I mean, that was some serious punishment he took. At the end of the fight, he was lumped up and swollen, and they had to lead him out, and he looked almost like Broner, except he won the fight. And he was talking, he was commenting at the end of that dude hits hard. That's all he kept on saying. I just don't think, and Mikey hits hard too. So, I mean, that's not an easy fight either, by any stretch of the imagination. And at 42 years old, you shouldn't really be taking that kind of punishment. That's why, when I heard that he was going to do the Conor McGregor thing, I was like, yeah, you 42 years old. Yeah, do a Conor McGregor something. If you want to vacate the title and just chill and just do a Conor McGregor something. Because, he's 42, bro. 42, you're an old guy at 42, you know what I mean? You're not no spring chicken no more. You shouldn't be taking those kinds of punishment at that age I mean, Bernard Hopkins did it, but he started late. He started like in his 24. Pacquiao started when he was 16. You know what I'm saying? You can't be taking that kind of punishment all the time. And yes, the body can heal back up and stuff, but it's still got that registry of punishment in your body. I mean, but hey, you know, some people try to push themselves to the limit, and dare to be great, even more. So I mean, I can't fault Pacquiao. Whatever you want to do, it's cool. But I think a lot of people will give him a break, because I gave his compatriot Mayweather, I gave him a break. You know what I mean? Danny doesn't let his hands go enough anymore. Ever since he moved to 147, he's not busy like he used to be. Well, you can't be as busy because you have to pot shot guys because they're bigger guys. They're bigger, stronger guys. If you listen to Roy, even when he's talking about facing Mike Tyson, he says I have to counterpunch him. I have to pick him apart, because he's so much bigger than me. So when you're fighting a guy that's much bigger than you, you can't open up your defense by throwing so much offense. You have to be selective in how you work your offense. You look at Canelo when he was facing Kovalev. He wasn't throwing a whole bunch of punches either because he's fighting like a much bigger guy. So just you have to keep your defense tight and work your offense where you see it available without getting hit because you're the smaller guy, So take for instance Roy versus Tyson. Roy's going to keep his defense as tight as possible so he's not getting hit by Tyson. He won't get hit by a big guy. That's not a good idea. You know what I mean? And when you giving up so much weight, you're giving up like 40 plus pounds, 30 plus pounds, 19 plus pounds, 18 plus pounds, 15 plus pounds. You got to be very careful how you maneuver around that. So that's why you don't see a lot of small fighters throwing a whole set of combinations on guys much bigger than them. You won't see that. And the fighters who do, they take a lot of punishment for it. Evander Holyfield took a lot of punches trying to fight bigger guys. Well, the smart thing he used to do is he used to use his small size to get on the inside, so he'd ride a lot of punches. And he punched within what you were punching because your arm's so much longer. He'll punch inside of your punches. And so that's how he was able to manage guys that were much bigger than him, much stronger than him, like Riddick Bowe and so on. And still, he didn't win most of the fights. The bigger guys usually won. So it's always about skill. It's about skill, and it's always about defense. And he asked Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson said he didn't take much punishment in his career because, again, he's not trying to get hit. He want to hit you, and you don't hit him. And he was pretty good at doing that for a good portion of his career. So while Tyson had a pretty good chin and was tested later on in his career, early on in his career, it wasn't getting tested at all. And he's psychologically also getting the minds of people. But back to what we were saying, which is that Tyson Fury, first of all, Tyson Fury, is he could be into the conversation. He just needs to do a little bit more, show longevity. Another thing that's very important in boxing is longevity. So if he could do it for like a good 5 to 6 more years, he could do what he needs to do. He'd be up there. He'd be up there, man. He'd be up there. But longevity is also another important part of boxing because a guy can start off hot and fresh, and everybody figure out what he is, and he never reinvent himself. And then we don't know, is he really that good? That's the question. Stop Asking says, after Pacquiao beat Thurman, I honestly thought Thurman was going to win, but Pacquiao should have just rode off into the sunset. Yeah, that would have been beautiful. But I think Pacquiao, he wants to have one more fight in the Philippines for his home people. So possibly Conor McGregor might be his last fight. You never know. And the thing about these guys, what Pacquiao and all these guys need to understand is that you always can do an exhibition or two. If you feel the bug to fight, get in an exhibition. Look what Floyd's doing. That's smart. and we can make exhibitions a little bit popular and stuff. We our favorite fighters, some of the fights we never saw, we can get them matched up. Even take for instance, I was just thinking about this stuff, right? Paul Williams is in a wheelchair, right? But he still can use his hands. And the WBC has wheelchair boxing. If Paul Williams wants to, I mean, that part of his life might be long since gone, he can start training again, use the wheelchairs, and do some wheelchair boxing. It's not the same as pro boxing, but he can do wheelchair boxing. And if he wants to go to the Olympics in wheelchair boxing, whatever. But if he really wants to do boxing, and who knows, maybe some of the guys he wanted to box or guys he wanted to fight again, like Sergio Martinez, or, you know, he was supposed to face Canelo, maybe, or even Floyd, you know, they could jump in a wheelchair, learn some wheelchair boxing, and do a little something against him. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, you know, a lot of times there are ways to get around things. And if you really want to face people, you really want to still do it, you really want to, there's a way. Exhibitions, perfect way. You know, and this is what Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. That's why it's so big. Because everybody always wanted to see Roy face Mike. Everybody. What would have happened if Roy faced Mike? So instead of giving us Mike versus Evander Holyfield 3, which we kind of saw that before, get something fresh and new. Matchups that we wanted to see, that we couldn't see, but now we might be able to see, even though the guys are much older and everything. You know what I mean? Michael Spinks is still out there. You know who I wanted to see Michael Spinks face? And he's still alive today. I wanted to see Michael Spinks. I don't know what kind of shape the guy's in, but I wanted to see Michael Spinks versus Evander Holyfield. Michael Spinks is an old dude. Evander's an old dude, but Michael Spinks is in pretty good shape. And Evander's in shape. I just love to see them do it. They don't have to go at each other hard. It's an exhibition. They get competitive, well, whatever. But I'm just saying, you know, sometimes these older boxers like Riddick Bowe, he want to fight Lex Lewis. Shit, do it as an exhibition. Let's get your ass back in shape. Riddick Bowe's already kind of in shape. Y'all was supposed to face each other. Face each other in an exhibition. Why not? Get some goals. You don't have to be the young fighter that you once were, but at least you can get to experience it again. Maybe with head guard and gloves or whatever. But this is one of the ways where people say, you know, oh, these fights, man. Fights that never happen, man. Oh, well, you can still make it happen. Now, there are going to be certain boxers who don't want to get hit upside the head anymore, like Sugar Ray Leonard. He ain't trying to get hit upside the head. You know what I'm saying? You know, Floyd Mayweather Sr. was trying to get that fight with Sugar Ray Leonard for the longest while, the rematch, right? And my point is, they're old as hell, but the point is that these fighters, they got fighting in their blood, you know? And if they can whip themselves into shape, I know Sugar Ray Leonard, he stays in shape. He stays in shape. That dude stays in shape. And even if it's 1, 2, 3 rounds, maybe it's joke stuff, maybe it's serious, whatever. Let him do it. See, Stop Asking says I would buy that wheelchair boxing. Money goes to charity or something. Yes, I'm saying, dude. Let the hands fly. You know, so that's one of the ways to get guys who, you know who else? This kid who was in a coma for the longest while from Puerto Rico. I forgot what his name is. And now he's smiling. He's not talking so much, but he's already smiling and he's in bed. And I'm happy for him. The kid who got knocked out and then he went in a coma. He almost died, but he's alive. Even guys like Adonis Stevenson, man, just to be around the sport of boxing, to feel it, to smell it. Some of these guys, that's all they know. And they live and they feel alive when they're around a boxing ring. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, what Mike Tyson's bringing to the table, legends only, is something that really could breathe life into a lot of people. Roberto Duran, seen Roberto Duran do a little something in the ring, a little 2, 3 rounds, you know what I'm saying? You know, he come all the way from Panama and he facing somebody, whoever it may be, somebody new. You don't want to have the same fights unless it's something in demand, like some people want a rematch of this guy and this guy. I seen old ass Chavez and Jorge Arce go at it. So why the hell not? You know what I mean? Japan right now, they wanted Floyd to face this featherweight champion, former featherweight champion. Why not? Rising star. You know what I'm saying? And they doing it for real too in the ring. Somebody getting knocked out. I'm just saying, if this is what your life was and you want to experience it again, the adrenaline, the crowd cheering, and all that shit, why not? Why not? A lot of y'all gonna get sick anyway and die of something. So you might as well have your life and have it interesting. Just make sure you're in shape. Make sure you bring it to the table. Understand you running your little 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, whatever it is. Go hard at it and go home at the end. It's great. It's great. And that's what I'm saying about boxing. Boxing is a thing that make you feel alive, right? It's not just about testosterone. It's not just about knockouts. It's the training too. It's the dedication to something. It's the commitment to something. And it's one of the truest sports in the world. Because if you did a half-ass job in your training, it'll show in your performance. You can't cheat boxing, right? See how long I've been jogging around and around in the circle? Because boxing make me have to work. You got to work, baby. And once you start to build up that sweat and you really start to work, feels good. Feels great. Than sitting down and getting sick. Sitting down and getting fat. Sitting down and having disease. All these fitness exercises and fitness programs, and fight against diabetes that Sugar Ray Leonard be doing. The only way you're going to fight against diabetes is if you get you off your ass and you start doing things. You see what I'm saying? That's the beauty of boxing. And even if you never put on a pair of gloves and go in the ring, you could box home. You shadow box. You know what I'm saying? Do a little shadow boxing. You know what I mean? You take it right here, right now. You could do some shadow boxing. It don't matter if you can do it good or you do it like shit. Look, right here. I'm a southpaw. Right? Right? Huh? Huh? Yeah, baby. All day. Woo! Roberto Duran was an animal. Yes, sir. He was tenacious. He was vicious. Oh, yeah. He had attitude. He was aggressive. But he was smart at the same time. He's smart. Smart dude. Pick his fights. Smart dude, man. Some old time greats. But we got some modern greats now. People overlook a lot. They overlook some great fighters today. You know what I mean? And we shouldn't overlook them. We're also living in the present. You know what I mean? So that's all I got for now. We're in an hour, 33 minutes, 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 12 seconds, and so on. Until next weekend, the 10th, I think we're going to have some interesting fights as well coming down the funnel. Right? I put up a video on those, and I put up a video on some of the interesting fights in the month of this month, October. So you guys can check it out. Tank versus Leo Santa Cruz. Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko. We got Derek Chisora versus Alexander Usyk. On the 31st, we got a whole bunch of fights. So we have Usyk and Tank, and on the undercard we got Rougarou. In fact, I think I feel that Rougarou versus Juan Hernandez from the Mayweather boxing gym. Undefeated Juan Hernandez gonna be facing Regis Prograis or Rougarou. So that should be a good fight too. See how Juan could stack up against him. I mean, so we got a bunch of good fights, man. In fact, I think next week we have Navarrete Now Varese gonna be facing another fighter. So that's at featherweight. I think it's for the WB. Is it WBO featherweight championship? I think so. That Shakur Stevenson or something like that. I can't remember which one it is, but it could be the WB. I can't remember. And you know who else is fighting? David Lemieux. I think David Lemieux is fighting on the. I think it's on the 10th. Um, yeah. The two brothers. They had their debut today. What's their names? Them two boys, Chavez and Angel. I forgot what their surname is. Yeah, long rangey guys, man. They had two tough fights. They had some opponents with wins under their belt as a debut. They had like 5 or 6 fights, something like that. Yeah, man. I'm gonna catch you later. Stop asking. Shout out to everybody. I'm gonna catch you guys later, man. What you need in the building. Saying peace for now. Peace.